It began with a signal that was not meant for them. The Deep Space Telescope, named Horizon Relay, was scanning a patch of void near the Perseus arm, cataloging pulsar data for a university project. The scientists monitoring the relay noticed a faint rhythmic distortion hidden between two star systems. At first they thought it was a natural emission, but as the analysis continued, the signal resolved into a pattern too deliberate to be natural. It carried a structure, a sequence, a kind of pulse that echoed intention. Yet no one on Earth expected that this accidental discovery would lead humanity to stumble directly into an ancient galactic order. The message was not directed at Earth. It was a routine transmission between two border stations of an interstellar empire that spanned thousands of civilizations. To the rest of the galaxy, humans did not even exist in the registers of intelligent species. Earth was cataloged as an uncontacted biological zone, primitive and unmonitored, barely significant compared to the vast and ancient empires that traded, allied, and fought beyond the local cluster. The empire's diplomats, admirals, and scholars had never heard of a blue planet orbiting a yellow sun. When Earth's engineers deciphered the transmission, they assumed it came from an unknown human colony, perhaps an experiment by a private corporation. The translation software interpreted the alien language as a kind of formal code. After weeks of testing, they realized the message was an automated navigation link, giving coordinates and a greeting header. Without realizing the gravity of what they were doing, the project team used a converted research vessel to trace the signal back. They were curious, confident, and more than a little careless. Humanity's history had always been written by those who pressed the wrong button and then decided to see what happened next. The ship named Odyssey the Sioux jumped across a gravitational corridor. The scientists aboard expected empty space. Instead, they emerged into a sector brimming with life. Before them stretched a structure of impossible scale, a ring of light spanning a planet-sized station. The hull shimmered with countless windows, each glowing in patterns that no human mind had imagined before. Ships of every conceivable design moved along orderly lanes guided by streams of energy. It was the capital of the Galactic Empire. The human crew froze, their instruments flooding with data. The sensors were overwhelmed. They saw ships the size of mountains, fleets organized with precision, and languages scrolling across frequencies faster than they could decode. The lead scientist leaned forward and whispered that this must be first contact. Another adjusted the comms and tried to send a greeting, but the transmission vanished into a storm of other signals. The humans did not know that the entire network of the Empire had already noticed them. For the Galactic Order, the sudden appearance of an unknown vessel inside their sovereign space was a diplomatic and military crisis. Border authorities scrambled. Patrol fleets mobilized. The Council of Systems convened an emergency session to determine who these intruders were. The Empire had known of dozens of interstellar species, most of them under formal treaties. None of them matched the energy profile of this small metallic craft. Inside the council chamber, 1,000 representatives argued. They spoke in harmonics, colors, and gestures, all interpreted through translation fields. The ambassador of the core worlds declared that the newcomers must belong to a hidden rival state. The outer sector envoy warned that this might be an automated probe from a lost war. Some demanded immediate containment. Others wanted to open communication first. Across the galaxy, networks broadcast live updates. Citizens everywhere debated who the intruders might be. Meanwhile, the humans simply drifted closer to the station. They did not know they were being observed by trillions. The commander ordered the ship to hold position while they ran diagnostics. The crew, still calm, discussed the remarkable engineering of the massive structure before them. No one panicked. One of them joked that it looked like a city built by people who had too much funding and no artistic restraint. The others laughed lightly and went back to taking readings. In the council chamber, the scene of casual human behavior broadcasted through observation relays stunned the delegates. They watched the small group move about without visible fear or reverence. They did not kneel or signal submission. They appeared to treat the situation as a routine exploration. The ambassadors whispered among themselves, astonished by such indifference. No known species had ever entered the Empire's territory and reacted so casually. Even mighty civilizations trembled before the Council's authority. The Emperor's voice, deep and ancient, resonated across the chamber. He asked if communication had been established. The analysts admitted that the newcomers used an unregistered frequency type based on electromagnetic principles that seemed almost primitive. The Emperor ordered a universal hail. The humans' ship received the message a moment later. It was a cascade of sound and light, encoded in a form they could barely interpret. The translation software struggled, rendering fragments of phrases. The commander frowned and asked if they could respond. The engineer suggested transmitting a plain language signal identifying themselves as explorers from Earth. They did exactly that. The council waited for a reply. When it came, it was astonishingly simple, a short statement devoid of formality, stating their origin and purpose. The entire chamber erupted in confusion. The Empire had existed for tens of thousands of cycles, and in all that time, no unknown world had ever appeared in their center uninvited. Yet here were these humans, claiming to be from a single planet unaware of any galactic law or council. Experts were summoned to analyze the footage. The human ship, small and functional, bore signs of rapid construction and modular design. The analysts called it crude yet strangely efficient. It lacked the ornate flourishes typical of galactic vessels. Every component had purpose. Some observers interpreted this as a sign of military minimalism. Others believed it was simply technological innocence. The debate grew fierce. Back on Earth, the news broke only after the Odyssey 2 transmitted its findings home. The world governments were stunned, but the general public responded with a curious calm. Social networks joked about humanity becoming the galaxy's unexpected guests. Memes flooded the networks showing cartoon humans knocking on cosmic doors asking for directions. Politicians held press conferences. Scientists requested funding. The human population reacted with the same detached fascination they had shown to every historic event before. The Galactic Empire, however, did not share their calm. The discovery of a new intelligent species capable of breaching their navigational barriers without permission was unprecedented. Fleets repositioned. Diplomats drafted containment proposals. Yet no one could find evidence that humans possessed the advanced technology necessary for interdimensional travel. They seemed to have done it by accident. This contradiction disturbed the Empire's scholars deeply. When a delegation finally approached the human ship, they expected fear. Instead, the humans waved. The lead ambassador, towering and luminous, initiated a formal address. Through translation filters, his words came out regal and deliberate. He declared that humanity was now in the presence of the Galactic Empire and under observation for possible treaty inclusion. The humans listened politely. The commander thanked the ambassador for the welcome and asked if they could gather more data from the nearby nebula. The translator relayed the response to the council. A silence followed. The Emperor's advisor asked if the humans understood the significance of standing before the governing body of 1,000 worlds. The translation system conveyed that they did, and that they were simply curious about local physics. That answer spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Countless species tuned into the broadcasts, watching the newcomers treat the Empire as just another waypoint. Commentators labeled them arrogant, ignorant, or simply fearless. The human tendency to underreact became a subject of study. Some philosophers proposed that humanity's perception of danger was fundamentally different, that they approached the unknown with the same ease as they approached daily life. Others argued that such indifference could only arise from a culture that had faced countless crises and normalized chaos. The humans were eventually invited to a grand assembly where the Emperor himself appeared. The hall was an ocean of light filled with representatives of every known species. When the humans stepped onto the central platform, the entire audience held its breath. The Emperor spoke in a voice that resonated through matter and thought alike. He asked humanity what they sought among the stars. The commander looked around at the grand spectacle. The lights, the colors, the countless eyes fixed upon them. Then in a tone calm and steady, they replied that humanity sought understanding, not dominion. They said they were explorers, not conquerors. They added that if their arrival caused trouble, they would leave and not disturb anyone further. The words, though simple, struck the assembly like thunder. No species had ever spoken to the Emperor so directly, without ceremony or flattery. The Emperor regarded them for a long time. Then in a rare moment of amusement, he laughed softly. He declared that humanity was free to explore under observation. The council erupted again, some protesting, others intrigued. The humans bowed slightly, thanked the ass,